Hello again, friends. Welcome into Gamecock Central Radio. GamecockCentral.com presents Gamecock Central Radio with Kip Bouknight twice a week here on Gamecock Central Radio. I'm your host, Emerson Phillips, and Kip joining us today to talk about this Gamecock series loss against the Georgia Bulldogs. Kip, we know playing on the road in the SEC is always tough, and that lived up to its billing this weekend.
Yeah, it did, Emerson. I tell you, it's looking back though to try to take some positives from the weekend. Clark Schmidt just came out and did a wonderful job on Friday night. Throwing a complete game, and after a tough North Carolina 15-0 loss on the road in the midweek, came out and just did a really, really nice job of saving the bullpen and getting them in a great position. Unfortunately, Saturday, Webb just got off to had an awful inning, and we just were never able to rebound. But that's baseball. That's part of it. You're going to have those starts, and as we've talked before, it's a big concern of mine. It's been just some of the depth of our bullpen and guys that just really haven't pitched much, and we've been relying on just one or two guys out of that bullpen, and it came back to bite us this weekend against Georgia, and hopefully that we're gonna have to start getting some other guys in there and getting them ready, because we're gonna need them down the stretch run. That's certainly evident, and certainly showed this past weekend against Georgia.
Real positive start to the Georgia series on Friday night. Clark Schmidt with his second career complete game, gave up just one run on 5 hits, struck out 10. Chris Cullen had an RBI in the second inning, and the Gamecocks picked up unearned runs in the third and fourth. Carolina beat Georgia 3-1. But then on Saturday, Georgia jumped out to an 11-0 lead. They beat Carolina 13-4. Braden Webb lasted just 2 1/3. He's been so good this year. But you talked here on Gamecock Central Radio last week about the fact that Schmidt and Webb have been outstanding Friday and Saturday starters, but they're not going to go 7 or 8 innings every weekend. And sure enough, Webb got touched up on Saturday, and Georgia did a number on South Carolina.
Yeah, I mean, and you look at guys in the big leagues. I mean, you don't see Cy Young Award winners going 25-0. Or I mean, they might win 18, 19, 20 games, but they also may lose 5 to 7 games. I mean, it really just depends. I mean, so the college season is obviously a third of the size. It's a lot smaller, so things are magnified. But you can't expect your starters to go out and give you 7 or 8 innings every time out and give up 2 runs or less. So, we have to be prepared for the inevitable, really. And Webb, certainly, hopefully he'll have a good bounce back start next week against Missouri. And I'm certainly, I'm sure he'll look back at film and see some things he maybe was doing wrong and try to make the adjustments. But that's what it's all about. It's a short season in college baseball, but it's also a long year. You can't dwell on just one loss, and you can't, you got to just try to make adjustments quickly. You can't afford to go in a month-long slump. That's the difference in college and professional baseball. And I'm sure Webb will be in the film room with Coach Myers and looking at things and trying to figure things out. But we've got to get 3 or 4 more guys out of the bullpen that are going to be prepared to pitch, because that just it showed on Sunday against Georgia. We were in a great position, but once again we're having to rely on the same guys. And I really like Tyler Johnson. I tell you, he's got to keep throwing his fastball in. When he kept throwing his fastball inside, early in his outing on Sunday, he did a great job. He got guys out, but when he's throwing 92, 94, even though it's that fast, he throws a lot of fastballs that are chest high, and when you do that out over the plate, as you see, they'll go a long ways, as they did in Georgia. And he's got to get the fastball down in the zone. So he needs to do something mechanically. He needs to work on that in the bullpen and try to get the ball down a little bit.
Cox and Dogs split the first 2 games, Friday and Saturday, and then in Sunday's Game 3, it was 3-3 in the 8th inning, and Georgia hit back-to-back solo home runs in the 8th and beat the Gamecocks 5-3. So, Kip, Georgia was 4-8 in the league going in. The Gamecocks had a 2-game lead over Florida and others in the East, and now that lead has disappeared. Florida swept Arkansas this weekend. The Gamecocks will get Florida at home weekend after next, so things have tightened up in the SEC.
Yeah, they've tightened up, but, they're in a great position. I mean, I'm sure Chad Holbrook was very frustrated after this weekend, but I guarantee you he probably made a positive spin out of it, because, these guys have – I mean, you look at John Jones and Don Thompson-Williams. I mean, they've struggled a little bit here over the last, 4, 5, 6, 7 games. So, I mean, to go through a stretch, to be where you are in the season, to be 11-4 in conference, ranked in the top 15. I mean, you really, really couldn't ask to be in a better position. They're in a great position. You look up and down the SEC standings in the East and in the West, and I mean, they're 22-1 at home. I mean, 7-5 on the road. There's many teams in the SEC that don't have winning records on the road. I mean, if they do, it's just a little bit above 500. So they're in a good position. They just got to make some adjustments, and I think the biggest thing is a couple of those hitters, John Jones, Don Thompson-Williams, looking at some film, figuring out what the pitchers are doing to them differently now than they were in the first part of the year, and just trying to get hot. It's time now to get ready to get hot for the stretch run, and it's, as Gamecock fans know, it's all about who gets hot at the end. So they're in a good position now, but they've got the meat of the pack here left, and it's certainly going to be a tough couple weeks of SEC baseball, but they got to be focused on Wednesday night at Furman in Greenville, because they'll sneak up and beat you as well.
That's right. The Gamecocks play in Greenville on Wednesday night of this week against Furman. That will be at Fluor Field. Looking back on the Georgia series briefly, junior outfielder Gene Cone was the Gamecocks' top hitter. He was 5 for 12 with 2 runs knocked in. He had a homer and 4 runs scored. Cone's got a 23-game hitting streak, and he's 2 shy of the single-season school record of 25 set by Greg Keatley in 1976. And Cone is 3 games shy of the school's all-time consecutive game hit streak. 26 is the record held by Whit Merrifield. He did that during the 2009 and 2010 seasons. Sophomore outfielder Alex Destino is the Gamecocks' leading hitter, batting .349 on the year. And it was freshman right-hander Adam Hill getting the start in Sunday's Game 3. He worked 5+ innings, gave up 2 runs on 4 hits, 3 walks, and 3 strikeouts. Hill got the no decision, so he's 5-0 with a 2.95 ERA. And the Gamecocks' 3 starters, the weekend starters, Kip, are combined 19-3 on the year. So disappointing to lose the series to Georgia and to have this 2-game lead in the SEC evaporate over the weekend. But all in all, Gamecock baseball is still having a fine year, and we got some critical series coming up, starting with Missouri at home this weekend.
Yeah, they do. I mean, you look back and you think of what the starting pitching's done for this team, and 19-3 is pretty special, especially when you're talking about, I believe it's 2 freshmen and a sophomore. It's pretty daggone impressive. And I'd like to see him give Hill a chance to pitch some important innings a little bit later in the games, because he's been pulled several times in the 5th and 6th inning where he's really been pitching well, but I think they're just trying to protect him. He's a freshman. They're trying to protect him. They're going to their bullpen, and some may say, well, the bullpen was fresh and the bullpen was there, but it's a difficult thing sometimes to do, like what Josh Reagan's been able to do. I mean, Josh Reagan has been almost perfect all season long, and he gives up 2 solo bombs, and those things are going to happen, and that's been my concern all year. Is Reagan some of the pitches he made on Sunday were actually some pretty good pitches, and you have to kind of tip your cap to Georgia. But that's the thing. I mean, when you got a guy that's throwing 84 to 88, even though he's left-handed as a closer, he's not going to get a ton of strikeouts. He's going to be a guy that's, even though he has, gotten a couple decent amount of strikeouts this year, I still don't think it's him as a strikeout pitcher. He's a contact pitcher. He's a guy that I feel like could eat a lot of innings up for South Carolina, and it's still a concern of mine down the road. I really do. It's hard to say that because he's been so good this year, but some of these better hitting teams, I just, I'd love to see us have a guy throwing 93, 94, being able to come out and blow it out for an inning and strike out the side and be done, kind of like we've seen with Matt Price in the, back in a couple of years back. So, they've got to figure out and find 2 or 3 setup guys, a long inning guy, a guy they can bring in to set it up for a closer. And if Josh Reagan's their guy, then, and he certainly hasn't shown that he shouldn't be their guy. So, who am I to second guess that, I guess I should say, but they are in a great position. South Carolina baseball is in a wonderful position. Fans need to just stay behind them and be ready to have some great weather, hopefully, and some awesome attendance here in the next couple weeks of baseball. It should be fun.
All right, the Gamecocks are 29-8 overall. They're 11-4 in the SEC, and that's the Gamecocks' best start in SEC play since the 2011 season when Carolina was 12-3. And, of course, that team went on to win the national championship. Kip, 5 SEC series remaining, starting this weekend with Missouri at home. Then it'll be Florida at home, at Kentucky, Texas A&M at home, and at Bama to wrap up the regular year. Florida, Kentucky, and Texas A&M all ranked in the top 18 in the country right now. The schedule is going to be tough down the stretch.
It's going to be very tough. That's why I think it's tough to kind of go into a series expecting or hoping a sweep. But, looking forward a little bit past Furman this Wednesday, you got to try to sweep Missouri at home. That's going to be a weekend. I still feel like that our bats are going to have to score 5, 6, 7 runs a game at least to win those games, because I've seen Missouri play. They can swing it a little bit at times. They're kind of streaky. And I think that, we can't rely on our starting pitching to, go out and throw 7, 8 innings and give up 2, 3 runs or less every single game. It's just not going to happen. It's awesome when it does happen. It's a beautiful thing, but you can't rely on it. So hopefully our guys will get hot. It's warming up a little bit. The ball should carry a little bit better. So there should be some more runs scored as well. So, again, Gamecocks are in an awesome position, but I do think this weekend coming up is going to be very important for them because, you look at it, they're 11-4 in conference. If you win 9 more games out of your last 15, that's 9-6 over the last 15 games. That puts you at 20-10, and that's a pretty strong mark. It really is. So I think all Gamecock fans, including head coach Chad Holbrook, would have taken a 20-10 season in the SEC prior to signing up for this year. So not saying that's where I want us to finish. I want us to finish better than that, but they're in a great position. They really are. After a tough weekend, they need to be thinking a lot of positives and trying to learn from those mistakes they made this weekend, because mistakes are designed for us to learn from them. And, I think Coach Holtz in football said it best when he was here. God gave us eyes in front of our heads, not in our back. Let's look forward. So Gamecock players, coaches, fans, all of us need to be looking forward and getting prepared for Wednesday night in Greenville against Furman.
All right, the Gamecocks coming off a 1-3 week. They've got Furman at Fluor Field in Greenville on Wednesday, 7 o'clock first pitch, and then Friday, Saturday, Sunday against the Missouri Tigers, who are 4-11 in conference play. 7 o'clock first pitch Friday, 4 p.m. Saturday, 1 p.m. on Sunday. Kip Bouknight, our baseball analyst here on Gamecock Central Radio. Kip, we appreciate your time. Thanks very much.
Thanks, Emerson. Go Gamecocks.
All right, that's Kip Bouknight, and I'm Emerson Phillips, and this is Gamecock Central Radio. Thanks for joining us, and we'll have another show for you on Gamecock Baseball later this week.